know that there's something so special about you and me, babe. So just say the words, cause you know what it means to me, babe.
Welcome to the Babes in Sports podcast, everyone. I'm Jamie Hersch.
I'm Tory Z. Roy. We're two friends navigating being mothers, wives, and successful women in the demanding, male-dominated world of sports.
Yay, sports. And speaking of sports, this has been a big time because we had NFL kickoff, and you and I are both huge football girlies. You're lucky enough to work in the NFL. I'm just purely a fan, which I kind of like. I've always told people, I like that football is just my sport for fun, for me, that I can watch. And so obviously this week was exciting because the Vikings won. I'm a Vikings girl. I always say I don't wish that on anyone because it's a tough existence to be a Vikings fan, as everyone knows. But I'm from Minnesota. I'm going with the hometown team no matter where life takes me. And they had a huge comeback win. JJ looked good eventually, I guess. And I'm stoked.
I'm just curious after this week, Ben Johnson, the new head coach of the Bears, is going back to the Lions this week because he was the offensive coordinator there. And he had that dicey late Monday Night Football decision to do the deep hit instead of bounds. So that backfired a little bit, all to Jamie's enjoyment.
Delight, pure delight. Yeah, no, I love it. And, for me, it was only a little bit of kind of like a heart tug for Caleb Williams because I'm a USC alum as well. So I root for him. I really do. I want him to have success, but just not against the Vikings.
That's fair. There's a lot of reunions that are coming up in the next couple of weeks for the NFL, which is what I just said about Ben Johnson going back to Detroit. And then everyone is already talking about week 4, Micah Parsons and the Packers going back to the Cowboys. So we're already preparing for that. We are in Micah Parsons mode. So
I bet.
Be on the lookout for all those stories that are going to come about.
Yes.
That amazing game. What a week.
Awesome. What a week. We've got a lot going on. So we're happy that you guys are here for the ride. And we have another guest today, a superstar guest in her own right. I feel like I'm going to say that every time we have a guest because we're only getting A-listers at this point. So super, super excited. Did you want to talk at all with US Open before we get to our guest?
Sure. We can talk US Open.
Let's do it.
I just want everyone to be on the lookout for Amanda Anisimova, right? It was her redemption story, which I don't think anyone in the sport has really seen. She is the first player to have fallen in a major final, 6-love, which she lost to Iga Swiatek, 6-love in the finals of Wimbledon. First time a player did that and then came back to compete in a consecutive major final right after that. Had a much stronger performance against Aryna Sabalenka, still lost, but how do you get through that to be you know what? I'm not going to let this bring me down. This is tough, but now's the US Open time. Refocus, reset, kind of forget the past and let's move on. I don't know, just really awesome playing by her. Awesome event. And just be on the lookout for more great things for her, for sure.
I love that. I know tennis is so personal and so I can't imagine being a tennis player. I don't know how you did it for all those years. And now you're a coach and it's just as much, probably way more mental than physical even, or about 50-50?
Probably about both. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's just you, right? And it's hard to take that off the court and just be done with it, right?
Totally.
All of your decisions, not a coach's decision, not a teammate's mistake. It's all yours. So I like to think that it prepares us for other obstacles in life. We'll see.
Motherhood. Yay.
And other sports. So that's why we're here.
Yes. All right. Well, with that in mind, let's get to it. It's our second guest on the podcast. Again, the A-listers are rolling into Babes in Sports. So let's get to it with this week's badass mom, who also has a decorated career in sports. All right, this week's guest is somebody I have admired for years, actually, mostly for her work as a true pioneer in the world of play-by-play. She is an Emmy award-winning sports broadcaster with over 20 years of play-by-play hosting and reporting for multiple sports. She does soccer, basketball, other things, softball, I think, in there. And I feel lucky to call her a colleague now with the NWSL, where she really is the gold standard for play-by-play and is the lead voice on ESPN's coverage of women's soccer. She has called the World Cup. She's called the Olympics, men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments, and more. But most importantly, she is mom to 2 wonderful daughters. She is Jenn Hildreth. Yay!
Oh, yay. What a nice intro. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
so happy to have you join us. First things first, we announced who you are as a broadcaster, but you're obviously an esteemed author now as well. You recently co-wrote a book that could not be more perfect to talk about on our podcast. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Tough as a Mother. What a perfect name. First of all, when Tory and I were thinking about names for our podcast, I was like, man, I wish I could have come up with Tough as a Mother. That is perfect. That is such a great title. So we settled for Babes in Sports. But what a great title. It's all about trying to do it all as a working mom. And I love how relatable it is for not just moms in sports per se, but just all moms that are trying to find that very difficult balance. So can you tell us a little more about the book and why you decided to write it?
Of course. Yeah. Thank you. And I think maybe you're playing off of this a little bit too. We wanted that dichotomy, right? Like tough as a mother, because I think people, if you say mom or motherly, they think gentle, kind, loving, which we want to be all of those things, of course. But come on, we all know that you also have to have a really tough skin. You got to be able to handle your can we curse on this podcast?
Yes.
You got to be able to handle your stuff. All right. Like just in case. So we wanted something that's sort of like that play like a girl or throw like a girl campaign from many years ago, where it was like, if you're told you throw like a girl, that's sort of meant to be a negative if a guy says it. But when we're saying it, we're like, yeah, try to keep up type thing.
Right.
So we wanted to flip that narrative on its head and use that dichotomy in our title, Tough as a Mother. We had the title long before we had the subtitle. That thing took forever to come up with, which is all about encouraging and empowering working moms through the lens of women in sports. Because we just thought, as you guys know, there are so many things that athletes have, these traits that we admire as a fan, as a broadcaster, as a public watching. And we thought, you know what? These are all traits that working moms have too. And we want to make sure that they realize they have that inside of them, that they have the ability to persevere and that they can focus when they need to, and that they've got passion for what they're doing. And so that was kind of how the book all came together. And then we interviewed close to 40 different women in and around sports to try to tell a lot of different stories so that every mom out there could have something that they would connect to and feel seen and feel encouraged and empowered that, yes, they can do this crazy working mom life, whatever their dualities may be in terms of work and motherhood.
Yeah, Jen, and I feel like at this point, you've probably heard it all, right? When you see other moms and hear other moms' stories, like you're just like, been there, got you, like the same things that we were always hearing. But what was the most surprising thing in writing your book and talking to these incredible moms and athletes? What surprised you?
I think, one of the things, what we call them our tough mother tenets, which these are the traits that we feel like all the working moms have, that athletes have. And one that we chose to include because it came up time and again, and this did surprise me that it kept coming up, was vulnerability. Because I think you don't think about vulnerability as being a strength. But we all know, as women in the sports world, you put on your armor to go in there, that you are this badass woman that can handle herself amongst all these guys, typically depending on what type of sport you're covering. And to be able to show that softer side and know that it's okay and that it's not a weakness. Yeah, you can talk about your kids. You can talk about the fact that you struggle through things trying to balance it all, and that doesn't make you less than. That was just a real eye-opening experience for me, hearing so many different powerful, incredible women talk about this and being willing to show that side of themselves, because I think that vulnerability is where we all connect. That soft side is where everybody can see themselves a little bit. When you take the armor off and everyone's like, that does sound like me. And so having the strength and feeling encouraged to be able to be yourself, all sides of yourself, the parts that are struggling to do it all, and know that that's okay and that people are not going to think less of you, I think is something that's really important for all women to remember.
Love that. And how relatable to and applicable as a mom, right? Like our kids, I mean, we have kids that are a little bit at different phases of life, but like, I think my kids, they crave stability, but they also, I think, appreciate vulnerability too. And if there is a time where I'm just had it up to here and I'm like, or whatever, and I say, sorry guys, mommy just is having a hard time or something, like they're like, oh, they lean in and they calm down, and it's like it unlocks something in them, whether it's empathy or whatever, which I think is just so beautiful to think about, kind of like using vulnerability as a strength and not a weakness.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different women, and I won't always go back to the book, but there are so many connections, but so many who talked about, telling like Elena Jane Nichols is this incredible Paralympian And she talks about, she'll tell her son, like, hey, bud, I'm sorry. I wasn't giving you my best today. And admitting to that. And because I think there's sometimes we idolize our parents or we put them up on this pedestal, maybe especially when we're little. When you have teenage girls, you get knocked down a whole lot more.
No.
but I think, yeah, like showing them you're real and you're a human and that these are things that you're learning right along with them is just, I think that does make them feel a more part of the experience and not just going along for the ride and whatever mom or dad tells them that they have to do.
It's so refreshing to hear that, like, it's okay
Yeah.
to be this way, right? To hear you talk about that in such an accepting, it just comes off so easily too, to say like, yeah, it's okay to be this way. And that's why I don't understand why we feel that it's not like we have to be game face all the time with our children. Our kids, we have to be perfect all the time when it's okay that we can have a bad day too. That's that message.
Yeah, for sure. They don't need to be seeing that game face all the time. They would, again, the teenagers really do knock you down. They would totally call me out and be like, stop it. I know you're struggling under there. And like, I mean, just dropping my oldest off at college. I did have to think about how much of my own pain I was showing her because I'm like, okay, this is a great moment. I want to encourage her and I'm happy for her. But at the same time, my baby's not there anymore in the hallway across from me. So it's like, that was one where I was trying to be careful how much I would let those tears flow on the outside. I was trying to be strong and brave for her. And so she could
tell
also
us everything. We're still a few years away from this, but I can only imagine what you're going through, even still, right? I mean, this was what, last weekend, a week ago or something?
Yeah.
Where is she going? Tell me everything.
Yeah, it was last Thursday, so it's still very fresh. In fact, I think I'm living in a bubble of denial still at the moment. Like, oh, she's just, away with her friends or something. But I dropped her off at Savannah College of Art and Design. And so wonderful city, really, really cool place. I think she's going to love it there, but who knows, So yeah, we got her all set up in her dorm and we were all kind of good until my husband and I said goodbye to her on the last night. And I kept trying to stretch out. Like after we had dinner, I'm like, do you want to get dessert? Do you want to stop at CVS? Do you need anything for your room? Like I kept trying to think of more things. So finally we get back into the dorm and we all give her our hugs. And then I think when she hugged her dad, and he got a little teary and then she started crying and then it was like we were all a mess. And then like my husband and I literally like walked out of there and walked straight to a bar. We were like must drown sorrows. An adult bar, let me tell you, we did not want to be in like some college bar. We were like, we need to be somewhere people of our own age. But yeah, so look, if you guys are sitting there with younger kids, like I could never imagine it. I could not imagine. I honestly still can't believe this is my reality, that I don't have her under my roof anymore, but such is life. And a lot of people did tell me the lead up is actually worse because I kept counting every minute being like, I need to be like spending every second with her. She was probably like, oh my God, I can't watch another episode of Gilmore Girls. Let's go away. She's so sweet. She did indulge her mama and we did a lot of great stuff those last couple weeks. So I'm hanging in there.
But Jen, sports for you started at a really young age as well, right? So did you find that being a multi-sport athlete prepared you for your career ambitions now in terms of the book and then, with calling play-by-play?
I think sports prepared me for everything. I mean, that's why I've been such a proponent for women in sports. And that's where my passion is. I mean, I've covered all kinds of sports, men, women, college, pro, whatever. But where my heart truly is with the women's sports because I just love what this gives to female athletes. Neither of my girls really wound up playing traditional sports. They have to find their own path, and that was fine. I certainly gave them many opportunities to try everything, but, they have to love it. But I do think I'm a really driven person by nature anyway. And so to be able to funnel that into sports and then to figure out how to take this very singular drive and work as a part of a team and understand what that means to feel success and failure as both a part of a team and as an individual athlete, and to see how those two things felt different, to push through, to see how hard work pays off, all those old cliches, but they're true. And then juggling lots of things and time management. I mean, those are definitely skills that we can use through all things. And then I feel like coming into sports broadcasting, where I did start more as a reporter, host, a bit of an analyst. Lord help those broadcasts for soccer. Soccer. So they were like, okay, you can be the analyst. And it was, gosh, I hear the analyst now and I'm just in awe of what they do. But anyway, I do feel like there's a sense, I always appreciated that I could walk into a room with any athlete I spoke to. And even if I didn't play their sport, I played a sport. I understood what it meant to be a competitor. And in that sense, it made me feel like I belonged. For for a woman in sports, there are a lot of times you feel like you don't belong. And that always really helped me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Sports is, I mean, I was never at anywhere close to the level of athletic that you two are. Tory, by the way, quick background for anyone listening and for Jen herself too. Tory played on Arthur Ashe at the US Open as an amateur, like chose instead of going pro to go to Duke, you know, to win championships and be a superstar there. So yeah.
I love how she oversells, right, Jen? That makes me
That's
so happy.
amazing, right? Isn't it nice? We need to just take our flowers.
Introduce me to me.
I
Yeah.
hear no lies, Tory. I hear no lies.
No, Jamie and I were just talking about that because of the mental aspect of tennis, especially, and it's every sport, but I always relied on that in terms of how it was going to prepare me as a mom and like the struggles. And going in for C-section number 1, I was like, you got this, you know, like you can push way harder than if you were 16, you know, you walk the next day. And it's just like, it's a blessing and a curse, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yes, it really is. We have to take the good from it and live with the bad and figure out how to, like, I don't know about you two, but that competitiveness, that beast, like, will not go away. I just started playing pickleball, Tory. I don't even know if you've gotten into that. Like, I tried tennis for a while.
Jen.
My body did not like it. It just kept getting hurt. So I was like, okay. I held off for a long time because pickleball I thought was like this old person sport and it seemed boring.
Oh, no.
But it is really fun. It is fun.
When you were talking about being competitive, it also reminded me of a previous episode that we had discussed about our kids and how to not expect big things of them and not expect them to love sports as well. So my example is my son decided he wanted to play Little League. He'd played t-ball, but it was like very, very casual t-ball, like let's play tag and then hit off a tee for the last 10 minutes. So I signed him up for Little League, which here in Summerlin, which is Las Vegas area where we live, it's a big deal. It's way more than I expected until they won the Little League World Series this year. And I was like, oh, okay, so I might be biting off more than he or I can chew. But my point in all of this is to say he had a steep learning curve. And I realized like, oh my gosh, I can't just expect him to be, I mean, obviously kids are naturally athletic or not, like they're gifted in that sense, but you also have to like work with them and not just like hand them a baseball bat and be like, yeah, go hit a home run, like go hit off of a machine. So how did you navigate your own daughter's either propensity for athletics or not?
Yeah, I think one of the things that was the hardest for me was knowing how much to push them because I wanted them to have fun. I mean, at the heart of it, you know, you want to do this because you love it. And so I wanted them to have fun and love it. But at the same time, you're going to hit a wall as a kid where you decide either you like this enough to keep wanting to work at it or you really don't care that much and you kind of give it up. And when we hit that wall, I really struggled because I wanted to keep pushing, but I didn't want to push them into something they really didn't care for. Like they did both play soccer for a while. They're quick. My youngest had this amazing sense of where to go on the field without ever being told. And she's lefty. And so there's like all these things that I felt like she could do with it. But we'd come home and I'd say, oh, do you guys want to kick the ball? Do you want to go out and like do some? Never. Like they never wanted to do it. And it gets to the point where like, I can't be the one all the time saying, let's go do the extra stuff. They have to want to do it. So look, there is no right answer. I don't know. I've definitely struggled with it. You do want to help them. And then also the mom guilt comes in where I sometimes would feel like, was I not around enough on the weekends to make sure that I helped them or that I could have done more with them? When we had a basketball hoop, I tried to get them out there. They both profess that they hate basketball, which breaks my heart because that was my first love was the sport. And then my oldest, Ashley, will tell you to this day that I forced her to run track in middle school and her younger sister is getting off easier because I did not make her do it. But she's a figure skater, which is wonderful. It's a really, really cool sport.
Yeah.
But it's fairly individual, even though she was part of a team, but it wasn't part of school. And I said, look, I just want you to have this experience of being part of a school team sport, right? So we did it in middle school. She does it in 7th grade. That was 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. She literally gets up and she's going to all the early morning practices and she's kind of doing okay with it and like feeling excited. The week of the first meet, canceled. And we think, okay, well, we'll get more. Never did. So she never got to get to the fun part of track. So then the next year is when she says, I made her run track, which I guess I did. Because I'm like, come on, you have got to try this. And she didn't like it. And to this day, she'll say that I forced it. But you win some, you lose some, you know? Don't get them all right.
Well, Jane, we got that. Taking vigorous notes.
Yeah. The vigorous notes being just have to try your best to figure it out. But yeah, I mean, look at, don't you guys think like I read Andre Agassi's book, right? And like his dad wouldn't be the player he was without his dad being the dad he was. So it's like, you don't want to be nightmare parent, but you do want to push them because to really be great, most kids need a little bit of a push and then hopefully something clicks and they taste success and they love it. That's the ideal ingredient recipe mix. But I don't know if we didn't really reach that. My youngest, by the way, decided she wanted to ride horses. So they both clearly picked sports that were cheap. No, anyway, but she does love that. So as long as they're doing something that they love and that they want to work at, that's really what I wanted for them.
Yeah.
Okay,
Tory's a coach. So you bring the kids to practice sometimes. Do you feel like you have to force Brax to practice baseball or practice tennis, or are they just...
Yeah, honestly, like, Jamie, I wanted the same experience that I had as a kid in terms of being around sports young. Not only did all my sisters play tennis, but my dad was a basketball coach. So I was in the gym running around with, his teens and sometimes playing tennis in the gym because that was the only way we could do it. And I just have like such fond memories of the squeaks of the floor and, all those things that I just never forget. So yeah, I coached a women's tennis team part-time because I just can't get away from this. It's my first love language. But I bring the kids out to practice and they're picking up the balls and they're running and the girls just love them. And it just takes me there, right? It's such sweet memories. And my son Braxton, who's 6 now, was getting pretty good at tennis. Like he's lefty. He's got that advantage. Of course, I'm already far ahead. And then about 4 weeks ago, he said he didn't want to play anymore. He didn't like it anymore.
But it could be a temporary timeout.
Yeah.
He could come back to it.
You said, Jen,
For sure.
okay. I didn't say it. Like, okay, I'm not gonna make you go out, but yeah, maybe it's just gonna help him with his other sports like baseball, and we'll see. But it did hurt. But I'm not, like you said in the Agassi book, like I'm not doing that. Right where you are, and even though it hurts my heart.
Yeah, yeah.
Jen, a lot of what we've been talking about lately on the podcast is with some newer moms and the idea of maternity leave and the pressures that entails when you feel like, you can't take too much time or you'll be replaced, or, some people like don't even want people to see them look pregnant on TV, which I have a very strong opinion about that because I work in hockey, which is basically year round. So there was no hiding a baby bump for me. I worked right until my due date both times and was totally supportive and supported too by my bosses to be pregnant, to, have that just be a very normal thing as I was also working in sports. So I felt very lucky, but I'm just curious with your kids a little bit older, at the time when you were pregnant, there were still probably pretty few women in sports overall on TV. And, things are starting to change a little bit with that. But what was that work environment like at the time when you were getting pregnant and having your babies?
Yeah, our timing was good. We lucked out with that so that I had both of them in the spring, when typically before I did NWSL, I had the summers off for the most part. So that was good. And that gave me that comfort, this cushion of time where I thought, okay, I can be home. And even if I have some work to do, I'll still be able to be home for the bulk of the time before I have to get going again in the fall. So that really helped. And I didn't have too much of a concern about that. But I was a freelancer. I mean, there certainly was that thought of I need to get back to work because I had my husband. Thankfully, we had health insurance through him at the time. But if I don't work, I don't get paid.
Right.
I didn't really technically have a maternity leave. It wasn't, I just, as a freelancer, you don't get that. But I will say this was another eye-opening thing that I realized. I think I didn't talk about the pregnancy until I had to talk about it. And then, I did work right up to it too, but I was really, for the most part, especially with my first, I'm trying to remember, doing a lot of feature reporting and things like that. So not as many live game things, but everyone was really so supportive. And the guys even would look at you in a different way. It's almost like all of a sudden you were a whole human to them and not just this girl holding a microphone. And they saw you and they connected with you like that. And I think that worked to my advantage, worked to my benefit. I often didn't get that connection with a lot of the men or guys that I would interview. My teammates, the people on my broadcast team, they were wonderful. But I did think that was actually a really positive experience. It got to where I was waddling around and couldn't hide the big belly. And that was a topic of conversation. And then all of a sudden we're talking about something that's not just what we have to talk about to get the soundbite or the interview. And then you're humanizing people. And I still strive to get that now. And it's not necessarily as easy. But we talk a lot about dogs now. That's kind of how I like to loosen these girls up. But I think it did give us that human element, and I do hope that women feel more supported. I think you're seeing that in the NWSL right now, and it's fantastic. You see even younger players believing they can have children, they can come back and play, and their spot's going to be there. They feel supported not only culturally, but financially with the new CBA that's in place. And when we talked to NWSL Commissioner Jessica Berman on the broadcast for Alex Morgan's game on Sunday, I thanked her for that. I said, you guys take some credit for that. Like, that is the league empowering women to believe that they can do this, and that should be celebrated.
Preach.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Love it.
Jen, before we let you go today, you have to give us a contribution to our end segment of the show, which is mansplaining moment of the week. Or we'll give you an option because you're our guest, mom-barrassing moment of the week. Do you have any? Help us feel better in our moments of need.
Okay. You know what? I was thinking about a mom fail. There's plenty to go back to. Can I give you guys two? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Because one's going to take you way back. And it's honestly, it's what prompted the book. So it's a really good one to share. And then one is much more recent. So we'll start with the way back because embarrassing certainly falls into place. So there have been some wonderful advancements to help moms pump their breast milk on the road now. Like, I am blown away that you can put pumps in your bra. I did not have that. So I have this moment in the Atlanta airport. I live in Atlanta and I'm in a bathroom and I'm needing a pump. And like, I couldn't even, there wasn't a stall. So I literally had to plug it in the middle of the bathroom. This is the world's busiest airport. No. And I'm just sitting there like this with like my shirt and I'm like holding the things. And I'm just like, my face is red. I'm sweating because I've got to go get on a flight. And I'm just like, this is the shit we do for our children. And nobody knows we're doing this. So that was part of where I'm like, I need to write about this. Like, this needs to turn into something.
Yes.
So honestly, like, you'll see it's in the book. Like, that is one of the things I was like, that helped prompt that many years ago, the idea that I wanted to write and share just all the things that we as moms do. So there's that one. Embarrassing.
You deserve a mom of a pod right now. You deserve.
Yeah. By the way, Sasha Meyer, one of the co-founders of Mama, is in the book because she's our sports adjacent. Like, we kind of broke some sports adjacent because we just loved, she had this idea of like, women need this. And she created Mamava on the pods. And we loved that. So yeah, she's in there. But the other one is much more recent. So my daughter's senior year of high school, she had the senior award ceremony. I was coming back that day from a game and I was like, okay, I should have plenty of time. However, this is Atlanta. However, it's air travel. So like there's delays. I don't even remember what's happening. I'm starting to like sweat and panic and I'm driving and I'm like texting or calling my husband. And we're getting to the point where my married name is closer to the end of the alphabets than the R's. We're into the point where the ceremony's going on. And now he's just letting me know at what letter we're at in the alphabet. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to miss it. And I'm stuck in traffic and I'm not moving. And I make it all the way up to the light at the exit where her high school is. And he texts me and he's like, she's going. And I lost it. I like sobbed. I was like, it's her senior year and this is an award she's getting. And then you start like spiraling to like, well, the other things I missed and now I miss this. And then, we went to dinner afterward and like, she's consoling me. She didn't even care, as kids will be like, she's like, it's fine. Everybody was getting these awards, but that was one of those fails that I just have to live with. And it was kind of out of my control, but it still really sucked.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But that's really sweet too that your daughter was like, Mom, it's fine.
She was.
No.
She was. She is a very sweet girl. So
yeah, no, and relatable because we got that first little league schedule today, and guess who's going to be missing the first game? This girl who wanted him to play little league. My husband doesn't even like baseball, but it is what it is. So I guess I'll go just because I think Tory has a mansplain moment, and I had a quick mom-barrassing one because this is not super recent, but it always makes me laugh when I think about it. So you know how the schools do such a good job, Jen, of like making moms and dads feel really special at Mother's and Father's Day. So they have these sheets the kids fill out. My mom is 82 years old. Yeah. My mom's favorite color is black or something. Like whatever. Like
they're the
fill it all out.
They're so random.
So
yes,
sweet.
They're great.
But the one thing that always comes home now, 3 years running strong for Mother's Day, my mom is great at cooking blank, which I will say a little bit presumptuous to assume the mom cooks, because this mom does not cook. Tori knows. I don't cook. My husband's an amazing cook. But whatever. The sheet is outdated. It says, my mom is great at cooking blank. And 3 years in a row, the answer has been waffles. Eggo waffles, Jen, are so great when I make them. Don't even get me started. And I just die laughing because I'm like, my son is so sweet. He thinks that I really try hard to cook his waffles in the morning. But damn, if he finds out that this is, I mean, actually, he does know now because he made his own the other day. And I'm like, wow, that's my specialty, folks. Eggo waffles.
Eggo waffles.
Hold that with pride, Jamie. Do not be embarrassed about that.
Definitely not.
And mine happened this week as well, which was a surprise because they, you know, you hope that they come less and less. But like I said, I teach tennis now just part-time, just to get out of the house a little bit, stay in shape. And I had a male client that I was working on serves with him on the court. And an older gentleman walked over to the fence and was watching and goes, wow, the lady is the coach? To me and my client.
Okay.
He didn't even look at him because he was like, this is awkward. And I just looked, I was trying to be respectful, I guess, but why? I was like, yeah. And that was it. And then my client was like, can we just go serve on the other side? He was worse than I was. So I was like, yes, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
We're changing it, ladies. We're just.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Wait, that makes it, can I throw one other story? You guys are going to love this.
No.
Okay. All right. So I start my career working for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution as covering high school sports, writing, right? And so high school football obviously is huge in Atlanta. I grew up in upstate New York. I didn't have a high school football team. Like, I had a lot to learn. I did have a big learning curve. Not quite as big as some apparently thought. So literally we're out at one game and, you know, and I'm like down on the sideline beforehand, like talking to some of the coaches and stuff. This one coach comes over, the Southern drawl, and he's got a football in his hand. He looks at me and he goes, darling, do you know what this is?
Okay.
I was like, all right, look, if you want to talk the intricacies of the wing tee, I'm still learning it.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm good on that being a football. So, you know,
That's so cringe. Ew.
we all have some crazy stories like that. That's all right.
Strong ladies.
do.
That's all we can say. Keep strong and be confident because
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jen, and good luck with everything you've got going on. I know playoffs are coming up for NWSL, so we really appreciate you taking the time for us here on Babes in Sports.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys doing this podcast. Keep it going, keep talking, get all the women out there understanding that we are supporting each other and we can do this. We're going to work through our tears and our struggles and our mom guilt, and we're going to be able to follow our dreams. I mean, that's what we want everybody to eventually be able to do. So thank you guys for having me on.
Next few weeks on the pod, we'll have two-time Olympic medalist and baseball analyst Jessica Mendoza, ESPN features reporter on Monday Night Countdown, Michelle Beisner-Buck, so many more. We'll keep you posted. Please subscribe and follow us on Instagram, Babes in Sports. See you guys soon.